Some people say a marriage falls apart slowly, one quiet disappointment at a time, but Olivia Carter learned that sometimes it happens in a single second. The second you realize the person standing beside you stopped seeing you as someone to love and started seeing you as something to control. The clock on the wall ticked softly. Tick, tick, tick. Olivia stared at the silver hands moving across the expensive Italian clock hanging above the fireplace in the Sterling mansion. 11:32 at night. Outside, cold rain slid down the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Chicago, turning the city lights into blurred rivers of gold and white. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled across the sky. The mansion was beautiful at night. Quiet, elegant, perfect, at least from the outside. Olivia lowered herself carefully onto the edge of the cream-colored couch, one hand resting on her 8-month pregnant belly. Her son moved gently beneath her palm. For a moment, she closed her eyes. Breathe in, breathe out. Dr. Harris told her stress wasn't good right now. Elevated blood pressure, too much anxiety, more rest, less tension. She almost laughed at that. Less tension, right? Because tension was hard to avoid when your husband had started coming home looking at you like a stranger. She heard the front door open downstairs. Then footsteps. Slow, measured, familiar. Ethan Sterling, her husband. The Man magazines called one of Chicago's youngest financial success stories. The Man business channels described as brilliant, disciplined, visionary. Olivia used to love hearing people talk about him that way. She used to feel proud. Now, every compliment felt like listening to someone describe a person she had never met. The footsteps grew closer. She straightened immediately without realizing it, adjusting the soft blue sweater over her stomach. Somewhere deep inside her body, a reaction had already started. Her shoulders tightened. Her breathing changed. Her fingers curled around the edge of the couch cushion. The strange thing about fear, Olivia had learned, was that eventually your body recognized it before your mind did. Ethan stepped into the room, loosening his tie with one hand while looking down at his phone. His expensive charcoal coat still carried tiny drops of rain across the shoulders. He smelled like cold air and expensive cologne. Olivia looked up, then froze. Not because of Ethan, because of the faint trace of unfamiliar perfume lingering beneath everything else. She knew that scent now. Vanilla and jasmine. Vanessa Monroe. Olivia's heartbeat slowed instead of speeding up. Oddly enough, pain had become quieter over the past few months. It no longer arrived like shattered glass. Now it arrived like snow falling onto frozen ground. Silent, cold, heavy. Ethan finally looked at her. No smile. No kiss on the forehead. No hand touching her belly asking about the baby. Just a long, expressionless stare. Then he looked at the clock above the fireplace. 11:33. Tick, tick, tick. Olivia suddenly had the strangest feeling crawl across her skin, a feeling she couldn't explain. Because somewhere far away, in another part of Chicago, someone else was looking at another clock and waiting for a phone call that hadn't come yet. The silence stretched across the room so long that Olivia could hear the rain tapping against the windows behind her. Ethan tossed his keys onto the marble counter without looking at her and loosened the cuff of his shirt with slow, practiced movements. Once upon a time, she used to wait for these moments, used to count down the minutes until he came home. She remembered standing in tiny apartments years ago wearing one of his college sweatshirts while making boxed pasta because they could not afford anything else. Back then, Ethan used to walk through the door smiling before wrapping his arms around her shoulders and saying he missed her. Back then, success was just a dream, and Olivia had been part of every inch of that dream. Now success had arrived, and somehow she felt like she had been left behind somewhere on the road. Ethan finally sat across from her and scrolled through emails on his phone. The blue light reflected across his face. Cold, distant, businesslike. Olivia looked down at her hands resting over her stomach. The baby shifted again. She smiled automatically. Small movements like that still made her heart soften no matter what kind of day she had lived through. Tiny reminders that something beautiful still existed. Dr. Harris called today, Olivia said quietly. Ethan barely looked up. She wants me to reduce stress levels and avoid staying alone too often over the next few weeks. Ethan typed something into his phone. Then hire someone. Olivia stared at him. Hire someone? He finally looked up. A nurse. An assistant. Whatever you need. His voice sounded calm. Professional. like he was discussing quarterly expenses instead of his wife. Olivia felt something sink slowly inside her chest. Not break. Breaking happened fast. This felt different. This felt like watching a crack spread across glass in complete silence. Ethan stood and walked toward the kitchen island. He poured himself sparkling water without asking if she wanted anything. He used to ask. He used to remember small things. Extra lemon slices. Blankets during movies. The way she liked cold mornings and warm coffee. Funny how love disappeared. Not all at once. Piece by piece. Tiny things first. Olivia looked toward the hallway leading upstairs and suddenly noticed something sitting beside Ethan's coat on the chair. A small gift bag. White paper with silver ribbon. Her eyebrows pulled together. Ethan followed her eyes. For half a second something crossed his face. Not guilt exactly. Surprise maybe. Then it disappeared. Client dinner, he said immediately. Too quickly. Olivia nodded slowly. I did not ask. Silence again. Tick, tick, tick. The clock continued moving above the fireplace. Ethan picked up the bag and walked toward his office without another word. The door closed softly behind him. Olivia sat alone on the couch staring at the empty doorway. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Then 15. Her phone suddenly vibrated beside her. She frowned. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Almost. Then another message appeared immediately beneath the first. One picture attached. Olivia opened it. Her breath stopped. It was Ethan earlier that evening standing outside a restaurant beneath glowing city lights. Vanessa Monroe stood beside him smiling. His arm rested gently around her shoulder. Underneath the picture were only 6 words. He is hiding more than you know. Olivia stared at the screen so long that the image almost stopped looking real. Ethan and Vanessa stood beneath glowing restaurant lights while rain reflected off the sidewalk around them. They looked comfortable together. Familiar. Not like two people accidentally standing in the same place. Her fingers tightened around the phone. Then loosened. Then tightened again. Funny how the human mind worked when pain arrived. First denial. Then confusion. Then that strange, desperate search for another explanation. Maybe it was business. Maybe it was old. Maybe someone edited it. Maybe. But deep inside, somewhere beneath all the excuses, another voice had already started whispering something else. You already knew. Olivia slowly looked toward Ethan's office upstairs. Lights still glowed beneath the door. She remembered little moments she had ignored over the last 6 months. Tiny moments that felt insignificant by themselves. Ethan suddenly changing his phone password. Meetings running later and later. Smiling at text messages, then turning his screen away. The expensive bracelet charge on a credit card statement that somehow became a client expense. Vanessa showing up at company events more frequently than anyone else. Vanessa laughing too loudly at Ethan's jokes. Vanessa touching his arm a little too casually. Vanessa looking at Olivia with that smile. That smile. Olivia used to tell herself she was imagining things because trust was easier than truth. Outside, another wave of rain struck the windows. The baby moved suddenly beneath her hand, and Olivia closed her eyes. Hey, she whispered softly. Easy. She sat there quietly, breathing slowly until her phone vibrated again. Another message from the unknown number. This time there was no picture. Only words. Check the gift bag. Olivia frowned. The room suddenly felt colder. Her eyes moved toward Ethan's office upstairs. Light still beneath the door. Silence still filling the house. Tick, tick, tick. The clock continued moving. Olivia looked down the hallway, then back at her phone, then down again. Her heart began beating harder, not from fear exactly, but from anticipation. Sometimes the scariest moments were not disasters. Sometimes they were tiny choices. Open the door. Read the message. Ask the question. Olivia stood carefully and pressed one hand against her lower back. The baby had been making movement harder recently. She moved slowly toward the hallway chair where Ethan had left his coat earlier. The white gift bag was gone. Her stomach tightened. Ethan took it upstairs. Of course he did. She stared toward the office door. 20 feet away. 20 feet felt like 20 miles. Then suddenly another sound reached her. Ethan's voice. Soft at first. Then clearer. He was talking to someone. Olivia moved without thinking. Quietly. Slowly. Step after step across the polished hardwood floor. The office door was not fully closed. Just barely open. A thin line of light stretched across the dark hallway carpet. Olivia stopped breathing. Ethan laughed softly inside. She had not heard that laugh in months. No, he said quietly. Do not worry. She still does not know anything. Silence. Then another pause. Olivia felt her entire body become still. Ethan continued speaking. A few more weeks, and everything will be finished. Olivia stood frozen outside the door, while somewhere downstairs the grandfather clock struck midnight. The sound of the clock faded beneath the pounding of Olivia's heartbeat. Midnight. 12 slow chimes rolled through the mansion like distant church bells. Inside the office, Ethan said nothing else for several seconds. Olivia remained frozen beside the door, barely breathing, her fingers pressing against the wall beside her for support. The baby shifted again beneath her sweater, as if reacting to the sudden tension inside her body. She wanted to push the door open. She wanted to walk inside and ask one simple question. Who are you talking about? Me? Us. But another feeling stopped her. Instinct. Quiet, cold instinct. The kind that whispers before logic catches up. Do not move. Do not let him know you heard. Ethan finally spoke again, his voice lower now. No, I already handled the documents. A pause. Trust me. Documents. Olivia stared at the narrow line of light beneath the door. Documents. Her mind raced through possibilities. Business contracts. Company reports. Property papers. Then another possibility slid silently into her thoughts and refused to leave. Insurance. The word appeared without warning. Insurance. Ethan had spent unusually long hours with financial advisors recently. She remembered hearing phone calls. Paperwork spread across the dining room table one afternoon. Signatures. Numbers. Policies. She remembered asking him about it, and his answer had been simple. Business restructuring. Nothing important. Olivia suddenly felt cold all over. A memory surfaced from 2 weeks earlier. She had been sitting in the kitchen drinking tea while Ethan spoke on speakerphone in his office down the hall. She had not paid attention then. Why would she? But now the words returned clearly. Increase the amount. She remembered hearing that sentence. Then another one. Update beneficiary information. Her stomach tightened. Tick, tick, tick. The clock downstairs continued moving. Olivia slowly stepped backward from the office door and moved toward the staircase, one careful step at a time. Her legs felt strangely unsteady beneath her. At the top of the stairs, she glanced back once. Ethan was still inside, still talking, still living inside some world she no longer recognized. She entered their bedroom and quietly closed the door behind her. The room looked exactly the same as it always had. Soft gray walls, family photographs beside the bed, tiny baby clothes folded neatly in baskets near the nursery doorway. Their wedding picture stood on the dresser beside Ethan's watch collection. Olivia walked over slowly and picked up the frame. For years ago, she had looked radiant beneath summer sunlight, smiling beside Ethan with her hand wrapped around his arm. She stared at the younger version of herself. That girl looked fearless. That girl looked safe. Olivia slowly lowered the picture back onto the dresser. Then her phone vibrated again. Her entire body stiffened instantly. Unknown number. Another message. No picture this time. No explanation. Only an address. East Oak Street. Downtown Chicago. Beneath it came a second message 3 seconds later. Tomorrow. 10:30 in the morning. Come alone if you want the truth. Olivia stared at the glowing screen while thunder rolled somewhere beyond the city skyline. Then for the first time all night, she noticed something strange. The sender was not hiding their number anymore. Olivia barely slept that night. Sleep came in fragments. 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, broken apart by rain against the windows and thoughts moving endlessly through her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ethan standing beneath city lights beside Vanessa. Every time she drifted off, she heard his voice again. She still does not know anything. Around 6:30 in the morning, pale sunlight pushed through the bedroom curtains, washing the room in soft gray light. Ethan was already gone. His side of the bed was cold. The closet door stood open a few inches, and the faint smell of his cologne still lingered in the air. Olivia sat up slowly and looked toward the nightstand. Nothing. No note. No message. No good morning text. Once upon a time, Ethan used to leave handwritten notes beside her coffee cup before early meetings. Little things like thinking of you or do not work too hard today. Funny how memories changed after trust disappeared. Suddenly those moments felt less like comfort and more like photographs from another person's life. Downstairs the house felt unnaturally quiet. Olivia made herself tea, but forgot to drink it. She sat at the kitchen island staring at her phone while the steam slowly disappeared into the air. 10:30 in the morning. East Oak Street. Come alone if you want the truth. The message had been sitting on her screen for hours, and somehow the words felt heavier every time she read them. She should ignore it. She knew she should. Every reasonable thought in her mind told her not to meet strangers. Not while pregnant. Not while confused. Not while feeling like her entire world had started shifting beneath her feet. But another voice kept whispering something else. What if this is the only person telling the truth? By 9:45, she was sitting inside her car driving through downtown Chicago. Traffic moved slowly beneath cloudy skies, while radio voices murmured quietly in the background. Olivia barely heard any of it. Her hands rested tightly around the steering wheel as buildings passed outside her window. East Oak Street turned out to be quieter than she expected. No office towers. No hotels. Just a small corner cafe with dark windows and flower boxes beneath the front glass. Olivia parked across the street and looked at the message again. Same address. Same time. Her heart began beating harder. Tick, tick, tick. Not the clock this time. Her own heartbeat. She looked through the cafe windows. Businessmen sat with laptops. 2 college students laughed over coffee. An older couple shared breakfast near the front entrance. Everything looked normal. Safe. Olivia stepped out of the car and slowly crossed the street. The little bell above the cafe door chimed softly as she walked inside. Warm air and fresh coffee surrounded her immediately. She looked around once. Twice. Nobody seemed to notice her. Then a voice spoke quietly behind her. Olivia. She turned. A man stood near the back corner table wearing a dark blue jacket and holding a paper coffee cup. Mid-30s maybe. Short brown hair. Calm eyes. Ordinary face. But what made Olivia freeze was not the man himself. It was the photograph sitting on the table beside him. Ethan and Vanessa. And several more beneath it. Olivia stood beside the table without moving. The sounds inside the cafe seemed to drift farther away. Cups touching saucers. Quiet conversations. The soft hiss of an espresso machine somewhere behind the counter. Everything suddenly felt distant. The man pulled out the chair across from him slowly. Please sit down, he said quietly. Olivia did not move immediately. Her eyes stayed fixed on the photographs spread across the table. Ethan and Vanessa entering restaurants. Ethan and Vanessa leaving office buildings. Ethan and Vanessa standing beside a black SUV outside a downtown hotel. Different clothes. Different days. Same expressions. Comfortable expressions. Familiar expressions. Olivia finally lowered herself into the chair carefully, one hand resting against her stomach. The baby shifted again beneath her sweater. Who are you? She asked. The man looked down for a moment before answering. My name is Ryan Mitchell. Olivia stared at him. The name meant nothing. Ryan slid a small business card across the table. Mitchell Investigative Services. Licensed private investigator. Olivia looked up slowly. Why are you showing me this? Ryan took a breath. Because someone hired me 6 months ago. Olivia felt her pulse quicken. Who? Ryan's eyes met hers, but he did not answer right away. Instead, he reached into a folder beside him and removed another photograph. This one was different. Ethan stood alone outside a financial office building downtown. Beside him stood 2 men in suits. One of them held paperwork. Insurance paperwork. Olivia felt her chest tighten immediately. Ryan noticed the expression change on her face. I think you already recognize what this is. Olivia swallowed hard. The coffee shop suddenly felt too warm, too crowded, too small. Who hired you? She repeated quietly. Ryan looked toward the windows for a second, as if making sure nobody had followed her. Then he looked back. The original request was simple. Background surveillance. He paused. But after a while things started feeling strange. Olivia stared at him. Ryan opened the folder again and slowly turned several pages toward her. Bank statements. Transaction summaries. Property documents. Dates highlighted in yellow. Olivia blinked rapidly as numbers stared back at her. Large transfers. Unknown accounts. Payments connected to companies she had never heard of. I should not technically be showing you some of this, Ryan said quietly. But after seeing what I found, I decided I needed to. Olivia barely heard him. Her eyes moved across the pages. Ethan's name appeared over and over. One transfer. Another transfer. Another transfer. Then she froze. Beneficiary modification request. Her breathing stopped for half a second. The page suddenly felt heavier in her hands. Ryan spoke softly. Olivia, I think somebody has been moving assets quietly for months. Tick, tick, tick. The sound returned again. Not a clock this time. Not rain. Her own heartbeat pounding inside her ears. Olivia looked up slowly. Who hired you? Ryan stared at her for several seconds. Then finally he said, I cannot tell you yet. Olivia's face tightened with disbelief. Ryan leaned forward slightly. Because if I tell you now, you will walk out that door and call him immediately. Him. Not Ethan. Him. Olivia noticed it instantly. Her stomach tightened again. Ryan reached inside his jacket pocket and pulled out one final envelope. Thick cream paper. Expensive. He placed it carefully onto the table between them. Olivia looked down at the handwriting on the front and felt the blood drain from her face completely. Because she recognized that handwriting immediately, Olivia stared at the cream-colored envelope as if it had suddenly become something alive. The sounds around her disappeared completely now. The coffee shop, the conversations, the dishes. Gone. All of it. Because she knew that handwriting. Every curve of every letter. Every slight tilt in the ink. She had seen it on birthday cards when she was little. On lunch notes slipped into her backpack before school field trips. On letters that used to arrive every Christmas even after she stopped answering calls. Daniel Carter. Her father. Olivia looked up so fast that Ryan almost leaned back in his chair. No. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. No. Ryan said nothing. Olivia stared down at the envelope again. Her fingers trembled as she slowly reached toward it. 3 years. 3 years since she had spoken to her father. 3 years since she walked away after the argument that changed everything. She still remembered standing in his office inside Carter Global Headquarters while Chicago glowed outside floor-to-ceiling windows 40 stories above the city. Daniel Carter had stood behind his desk wearing the same expression he always wore when he was worried. Calm on the outside, terrified underneath. I do not trust him, he had said. Olivia remembered feeling angry immediately. You do not even know him. I know people. You think everyone wants money. Olivia, no. You think your money lets you control everything. She remembered tears filling her eyes. She remembered Ethan standing beside her holding her hand. She remembered choosing him, then choosing to leave. Daniel had called for months afterward, then less often, then birthdays, then holidays, until eventually there had only been silence. Olivia looked at Ryan slowly. My father hired you. Ryan nodded once. Just once. About 6 months ago. Olivia blinked rapidly. 6 months. Ryan folded his hands together. He told me he was not interested in controlling your life. His eyes softened slightly. He said he only wanted to know if you were safe. Olivia stared at him without speaking. Safe. Such a small word. Safe. Suddenly memories started falling into place one after another like dominoes tipping over. The black SUV she kept seeing near grocery stores. The man she thought she recognized outside her doctor's office last month. The unfamiliar car parked across the street from the house twice in the same week. She had ignored all of it. Ryan looked down briefly before continuing. At first there was nothing unusual. He paused. Then Ethan's behavior changed. Olivia lowered her eyes slowly toward the table. Ryan slid another photograph forward. This one showed Ethan walking beside Vanessa outside a downtown office building 3 months earlier. Olivia looked closer, then frowned. It was not the photograph that caught her attention. It was Ethan's expression. He looked nervous, looking over his shoulder, looking around, looking like a man afraid someone was watching him. Ryan leaned forward slightly. Olivia, your father asked me to stop the investigation 2 weeks ago. Olivia looked up immediately. Why? Ryan held her eyes for several seconds. Then he said quietly, because he booked a flight to Chicago himself. Olivia felt the air leave her lungs. Ryan slowly nodded toward the envelope still resting in her hands. He wanted to tell you the rest himself. Olivia looked down at the envelope resting in her hands, and for several seconds she could not bring herself to open it. Her father was in Chicago. Her father had been watching from a distance. Her father knew something was wrong long before she did. Strange how life worked sometimes. The people we spend years trying to forget somehow continue loving us quietly in places we cannot see. Ryan sat across from her without saying anything. He understood that silence had its own language. Olivia finally slid one finger beneath the edge of the envelope and slowly unfolded the letter inside. The paper felt heavy. Expensive. Familiar. Her eyes moved across the first line and immediately blurred with tears. Sweetheart, if you are reading this, then I was right about one thing and wrong about another. I was right that something felt wrong. I was wrong to think staying away from you would protect you. Olivia pressed her lips together as her chest tightened. Daniel Carter had always written exactly the way he spoke. Direct. Simple. No unnecessary words. Her eyes continued moving. I know you are probably angry. You have every right to be. But there has not been a single birthday, a single Christmas, or a single morning in 3 years when I did not think about calling you. I only stopped because I thought giving you space was the same thing as respecting your choices. I understand now that love and distance are not always the same thing. Olivia lowered her eyes for a second. Suddenly, she remembered being 7 years old and sitting on her father's shoulders at Navy Pier while fireworks exploded over Lake Michigan. She remembered falling asleep in the back seat of his car after school and waking up with a blanket carefully wrapped around her. She remembered scraped knees and piano recitals and hot chocolate during Chicago winters. Small memories. Forgotten memories. The dangerous thing about pain was that it often buried good things underneath it. Ryan watched quietly while Olivia continued reading. There was another paragraph beneath the first. I do not want you to panic after hearing any of this. I have people helping me, and I have spent months gathering information. You are not alone. You were never alone. Olivia swallowed hard. Tears rolled slowly down her face now. She did not even notice them anymore. Then her eyes reached the final lines, and suddenly her breathing stopped. If you are reading this before noon today, do not go home immediately. Wait for me. I land at O'Hare at 11:45. I am coming to bring my daughter home. Olivia stared at those words without moving. Home. Such a small word. Such a dangerous word. Such a powerful word. Ryan looked at his watch quietly. Then his expression changed. Olivia noticed it immediately. What is it? Ryan looked up slowly. Daniel's flight landed 30 minutes ago. Olivia blinked. 30 minutes? Ryan nodded once. He should already be here. Tick, tick, tick. That sound again. Only this time it was not a clock. It was fear. Olivia looked toward the cafe windows instinctively. Cars moved outside. People walked by carrying shopping bags. Normal life. Normal people. Then Ryan's eyes suddenly shifted towards something behind her. His face lost all color. Olivia, he said very quietly, do not turn around too fast. Olivia felt her heart stop because she already knew that voice before she even heard it. Well, Vanessa Monroe said behind her with a smile, this explains a lot. Olivia felt every muscle in her body lock at once. Slowly she turned toward the voice. Vanessa Monroe stood beside the cafe entrance holding designer sunglasses in one hand and a white coat draped over her arm. She looked exactly the way she always looked in public. Perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect confidence. The kind of confidence people had when they believed they already knew how a story ended. Vanessa glanced from Olivia to Ryan and then down toward the photographs still spread across the table. Her smile widened slightly. Well, this is awkward, she said softly. Ryan stood immediately. Olivia, we should leave. Vanessa laughed quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough to make Olivia's skin feel cold. Leave? Vanessa tilted her head slightly. Come on, Ryan. We all know secrets never stay hidden forever. Olivia stared at her without speaking. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Vanessa was too calm. Too relaxed. People surprised by situations usually looked confused. Vanessa looked prepared. Her eyes moved toward the envelope still sitting beside Olivia's hand, then back toward her face. You know, Vanessa said casually, I always wondered when you would finally start asking questions. Olivia felt her heart begin beating harder again. Tick, tick, tick. What are you talking about? Vanessa crossed her arms and looked almost sympathetic for a moment. Almost. Olivia, you spent years believing people only leave because they stopped loving someone. She shrugged lightly. Life is more complicated than that. Ryan moved around the table now, standing closer beside Olivia. His expression had changed completely. Controlled. Alert. Olivia noticed it immediately. Vanessa looked at him and smiled again. Relax. She lifted both hands slightly. I am not here to cause problems. Then she looked directly at Olivia. I came because there is something you should know before your father arrives. Olivia felt the words hit her chest like cold water. My father arrives. Not if. Not maybe. Vanessa knew. How? Ryan noticed it too. Olivia saw it in his eyes. A brief flash. A tiny shift. Vanessa walked closer, but stopped several feet away. 3 months ago, Ethan tried ending everything between us. Olivia blinked. What? Vanessa lowered her eyes briefly. Because he found out someone was watching him. Ryan's jaw tightened beside her. He became paranoid. Nervous. Vanessa looked directly at Olivia again. He kept saying somebody was digging into his finances. Silence filled the space between them. Cups clinked somewhere behind the cafe counter. A child laughed outside near the sidewalk. Normal sounds. Ordinary sounds. Yet Olivia suddenly felt like the entire room had tilted sideways. Vanessa slowly reached into her purse. Ryan immediately stepped forward. Do not. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Seriously? Then she pulled out a folded piece of paper and placed it on the nearest table. I am not helping Ethan anymore. Olivia stared at her in disbelief. Vanessa took one step backward. Because people eventually realize when they are standing on the wrong side of something. Olivia looked down slowly at the paper. Financial transfer records. Dates. Account numbers. And one highlighted line near the bottom. Olivia felt the blood drain from her face. Because directly beneath Ethan Sterling's name appeared another name she never expected to see. Daniel Carter.